What up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Leslie Smith, and today on the Nerdy Narrative, it's time for my weekly update. Another week has come and gone already, and those of you with sharp eyes out there, you've probably already noticed one thing I've done in the last week since I saw y'all, and that is I got a haircut. I was trying to grow it out, I really was, and I just couldn't stand it. My curls have just decided they don't want to be long anymore. They don't like all that weight on them. They don't want to look right. So I threw the towel in and got my hair cut off yesterday, and oh my gosh, it feels so much better and it's letting a lot of air get to my neck, which if you've ever spent time in Central Florida, that's important. So that's one of the things I got up to this week. Let's talk about some of the books that I finished. So when I talked to y'all last week, I was working on Return of the Griffin by J.C.M. Byrne, the second book in the Hybrid Helix series. It's a series that blends science fiction and fantasy elements. It features our main character, Rohan here, who is half human, half Ildrak, which makes him a superhero. Really enjoyed reading this one. I filmed my review for it earlier this morning, so that should be appearing on the channel in the coming weeks. The other book that I finished, I actually forgot to even mention last week that I was going to be reading it. It's called Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert, who is the author that wrote The Nightmare Man and Mr. Lullaby. Sleep Tight comes out on September 10th, 2024, and if you loved those other two books that he wrote, you are going to love this one. It's a crime thriller novel where a serial killer by the name of Father Silence, almost 20 years after his capture, he is finally executed. The very next morning, one of the detectives responsible for apprehending Father Silence is found dead, and a new serial killer calling himself the Outcast has emerged, and it just goes from there. This was a phenomenal read, and those of you who are frequent viewers of the channel, you know I love reading about serial killers and that there's not much I haven't seen. So what I'm looking for are unique characters, I want dynamic storytelling, and I want unpredictable twists, and this book delivered on all three. So if I've caught your attention with this one, my full non-spoiler review will go live on the channel September 10th. You can give it a watch, and if I convince you that you need to read it, I timed the review to come out on release day so that you'll be able to go ahead and snatch your copy right away. I also finished listening to the audiobook for Carl's Doomsday Scenario. That's the second book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Denneman. Oh my goodness. Y'all, if you have not read this series, you really need to change that. I promise you, it is worth prioritizing this series if you haven't read it. It has brought me endless joy. My husband is also reading the series, and then we got our best friend Brian on board, and we're just having the best time. I asked Chris, I said, hey, since we're having so much fun talking about these books together, would you be interested in filming a joint review or perhaps do a live stream where we just talk spoilers, because I know a lot of you have read this series. And he said he was open to either. So I put it to my patrons. I said, all right, guys, here's the two options. I'm going to let y'all vote. The result of that vote is a dedicated review. So this weekend, Chris and I are going to sit down and film non-spoiler reviews for the first two books in Dungeon Crawler Carl. We're already halfway through the third book, so if we finish by the weekend, we'll throw that one in there too. So if you love that series and you're excited to hear what the two of us think, keep your eyes on the channel. Those are going to be coming soon. I'm going to try and at least have the first one out next week. We'll see how that goes. Moving into what I am currently reading. Well, I've already mentioned that I've started the third book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. It's called The Dungeon Anarchist's Cookbook, and oh my gosh, this one is so good. I think the third one is on par with book one. The second one was very serious. It didn't have as many funny moments in it. There was a lot of information imparted in that one, but book three is right back to being on the level with the humor and the fun of book one. I did start a new book last night. Hold on, I have this little thing that I got here. It's got a little elastic thing that goes around it with an adjustable snap. But it's a little pouch that I got from a sticker shop. On the outside, it's got 3 slots you can put pens. It's got a bigger pocket there where I could probably put my reading glasses in it. And then there's a little zipper pouch on the side where I have my little tabs to mark stuff in. And I need to find my post-it notes. I have the little post-it notes I'm going to slide in there. But whatever physical book I'm reading, I just wrap this around it. So I always have my highlighter, my pen to make notes, and tabs. So yeah, added bonus in this video. You got a reading hack you didn't know you needed. But the book that I started last night, I've only read the prologue and the first chapter. It's Incarnate by Richard Thomas. This one is also coming out in September, which means a review is going to be forthcoming. All I can tell you as my bookmark falls out, rude. Our main character is a sin eater, and this one is a little bit different than other sin eaters I have read about. This sin eater absolves the dead of their sins. Every other book that I've read that involved a sin eater, it dealt with the living. So this one deals with the dead, so I'm excited. The end of chapter 1 was chef's kiss. Those are the only two that I'm currently working on. I've got one audiobook, one physical. The next book that is on the TBR, and I've talked about over the last couple of weekly updates, I've got The Exorcist House Genesis by Nick Roberts. That one's going to be coming out on September 13th. And I have New York Minute by Stephen Aryan coming out on October 1st. And with the rate that I have been flying through the Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobooks, I expect that by the time I check in with y'all next week, I'll be started on the 4th one of that series, which is called The Gate of the Feral Gods. As far as this week on the channel, on Tuesday, if you missed it, I'll talk about The Sky on Fire by Jen Lyons. That's her newest release. On Thursday, I have my review for Chasm by Stacey McEwen. That went live as part of an online book tour hosted by Angry Robot Books. Chasm is the second book in the Galatian trilogy, a romantasy series that I have really been enjoying. I had the wonderful opportunity to join a Zoom meeting with the author on Thursday, just talking through the trilogy and letting us ask questions. That was super fun. I can't wait to read the conclusion of the series. Oh my goodness. Next week on the channel, on Tuesday, I'm really going to try and work hard and have the first Dungeon Crawler Carl book go up on Tuesday. On Thursday, I have the 3rd book in Meg Gardner's unsub series, The Dark Corners of the Night. That's going to go live. So if you've been following along that fun crime thriller series inspired by different real-life serial killers, the next one's on its way for you to see, and it is my least favorite of the series, but that's okay because the 4th book was amazing. I did try a new series this weekend. It's called Bad Monkey. It has Vince Vaughn in it. It's a comedy drama, and it's based on a novel called Bad Monkey, and the author's name is Carl Hyacin. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly. There's only 2 or 3 episodes out so far. We binged all that we could get hold of. I am absolutely going to be reading that series. It's a series about Andrew Yancey, who is a former Miami-Dade detective who now works for Monroe County Sheriff's Department, though he has been suspended because he got himself into some trouble. And Yancey's just been content to wait out his suspension, sitting in his beach chair, watching the water, aggravating his neighbor when his partner shows up and is like, I have a favor. I have this human arm that I need you to do something with. Super funny. I hope the books are just as good. And of course, as soon as I get a chance to read them, you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a review on the channel. Let's see. What else did we do this week? Oh, last weekend we went to Passholder Night at Universal Studios. They had a whole weekend where at 7 o'clock they closed down studios and it was nothing but pass holders. We were walking on all the rides. They had special merch just for pass holders for that night. They had discounted merch. They had all kinds of cool photo opportunities and they had rare characters out for us. I just had a great time. They gave us a chance to see the drone and fountain show Sensational again, and plus let us practice getting ready for Halloween Horror Nights, which starts next week. and y'all are going to be hearing all about some Halloween stuff coming up over the next few weeks. So just go ahead and get ready for that. Chris and I also snuck in a round of disc golf at Bill Frederick Park. We played the shady side because I wasn't sure if the other side that's more open had been mowed, because we went a few weeks ago and they just decided to stop mowing. And when the grass is like coming up to mid-thigh, I ain't doing that stuff. No, we have gators and snakes and there's a lot of water around that course. So I told Chris that is a pass on that side. We'll play the one that's all up in the trees, which he might have regretted because he hit a lot of trees when we played. Spoiler alert, who won that round. But that's going to do it for me this week. That's all the stuff I've been up to, what I've been reading, what I'm about to read next. Hopefully I mentioned something in this video that you might enjoy reading or watching for yourself. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday.